my pleasure to welcome Sergeant Simon Jackson from the Carlisle Police Department here this evening to be your guest speaker. Sergeant Jackson was with us last year and he spoke with a small group over lunch about law enforcement and careers, I believe it was careers in law enforcement and things like that. We're grateful to have Sergeant Jackson back with us again. Please give your attention to Sergeant Jackson.
Thanks, sir. How you doing tonight, gentlemen?
Good.
I'm very informal when I speak. We're in a period of time in law enforcement where we really need to communicate. So you guys need to ask questions. I will answer them honestly and truthfully. That's the first thing. Second thing, just to give you a little background, I've been a police officer for almost 20 years. First got out of the academy, was a county detective for about 7 years. I hated working for a politician, so I tested for Carlisle and the Carlisle Police Department. During my career, I was on the SWAT team for 10 years, 2 years as a sniper. I'm now a hostage negotiator. I've been a field training officer, I've done detective work, and now I'm a sergeant, so I don't do anything. Everybody else does the work. That being said, I want to bring up a favorite writer of mine, Lieutenant David Grossman. I'm sure some of the adults know who Lieutenant Colonel David Grossman is. He wrote 2 books, one called On Killing and one called On Combat. If you ever get free time and you're so inclined, they're fantastic books about the stress associated with being in combat or in a violent situation. Lieutenant Colonel Grossman likens the military to our country's sword. He likens police officers and law enforcement to our country's shield. That is what I do. I am the shield, I am the protector, I serve my community. Now, I'm going to ask you guys a question. Where do you get your interpretation of police officers? Yes? Yep.
Sir, you guys read the news?
News, what else? CSI, right? TV, yeah.
Is that around for
Social media. Go ahead.
that area is my mother.
Your mother? Was she a police officer?
Yes, sir.
Where at?
I live in New Jersey.
Nice, nice. Yeah, you get your impression of police officers from the media. Some from the news, but mostly from movies. If you notice in movies that police officers are either crazy or corrupt, Denzel Washington, Training Day, great movie, corrupt, right? Lethal Weapon, Mel Gibson, right? It's crazy, it's insane. There are no real good cops in the movies. There are no real good cops on TV. It's all made up. It's fiction. Here's the problem we're facing right now. You, as a public, okay, are getting your interpretation of what I do for a living from the media, and it's not correct. Us as police officers, like the military, we get closed up and we get angry at that interpretation, and we don't take the time to explain to you what we do for a living and how we do it. So tonight, we're going to very briefly we're going to touch on one particular subject. We're going to touch on the use of lethal force. What's the narrative right now in the media? Police officers are killing unarmed people, right? That's what we hear. We see clips, we see video clips. And I'll tell you right now, of all the ones that I've looked at, only one was a bad kill. And that was the one in North Charleston where the guy threw the taser down after he shot the guy in the back. Now, who do you think wants dirty cops like that drawn the most? Other cops. I don't want to work with a dirty cop. I don't want him watching my back. We police our own, and we get rid of it as fast as we can. That doesn't make it to the media. So I want to do a little exercise with you here today. We're going to look at the lethal force rules at the Carlisle Police Department as taken from the Pennsylvania Code, all right? And then we're going to watch a video, and we're going to talk about it. That's my name, my phone number, my email. If you guys ever have any questions, you want to talk about police stuff with me, feel free to email me. I won't answer. No, I'm kidding. Of course I'll answer. Lighten up, guys. All right, use of deadly force. The action is in defense of human lives, including the officer's own life, or in defense of any person in immediate danger of serious physical injury when he or she reasonably believes both that such force is necessary to arrest and prevent an arrest being defeated by resistance or escape, and the person to be arrested has committed or attempted to forcible felony, or is attempting to escape and possesses a deadly weapon, or otherwise she will endanger human life or serious bodily injury. What does that mean? That's all legal talk. That's what the lawyers talk about. Yes, sir.
So we could have one, I guess it means, even someone says I will shoot him if he
Very good, Cadet. Thank you. We are allowed to use deadly force when we are afraid that someone else or ourselves is in danger of imminent bodily injury or death. That's when we can use lethal force under the law. Oop. Serious bodily injury. What's the definition? Everything in the law is about definitions. Bodily injury which creates a substantial risk of death or which causes permanent disfigurement or protracted loss or impairment of the function of any bodily member or organ. Is someone stabbing my eye out serious bodily injury? Is losing a limb serious bodily injury? What about breaking a nose? Maybe disfigurement. Okay, so we have to look at that in terms of the law. So I don't have to be shot at first to use lethal force. If I am in fear of any of these things, I'm justified to use lethal force. Tennessee versus Garner. There are two cases that guide police officers when they use lethal force. Very briefly, Tennessee versus Garner in the 70s, Memphis Police Department, two police officers are chasing a kid who committed a burglary. They shot him in the back and they killed him. The court ruled that the officer has to have probable cause to believe that the suspect poses a significant threat. You can read all that. The officer has probable cause to believe that the suspect committed a crime involving infliction or the threat of infliction of serious bodily injury, and when possible, a warning must be given. What the court told us as police officers is what I said at the beginning. You can't shoot someone who just burgled a house and ran away. You are not allowed to do that. You have to be in fear of death or imminent bodily injury before you can apply lethal force. Is that clear? Does that make sense? Okay, and when possible, we have to give a warning. And you see that on TV all the time. What do they say? Stop police or I'll shoot. If possible, we have to give that warning. And we will say it that way. Stop or I will shoot. We're not going to code, we're not going to say freeze, we're not going to do all that kind of stuff on TV. We are going to say stop or I will shoot. We've communicated our intent, and we've communicated what we want you to do. Second case is Graham v. Connor. Graham v. Connor, the plaintiff in this case, had a diabetic attack. He was with a friend. Diabetic attacks, if you're familiar with them, you look at they're a lot like drunks. It's hard to tell the difference. You can even smell kind of the sweet alcohol smell from a diabetic. The officers treated him as though he was intoxicated. Long story short, force was used to effect an arrest, and he was hurt. So he sued under Section 1983 of the Federal Code and said that the police used excessive force. What the court said is that all claims of excessive force must be analyzed under the Fourth Amendment and its reasonableness standard. Basically what they said is the incident must be looked at through the eyes of the officer and not with 20/20 hindsight. In other words, if that officer uses force, the court has to look at that case through what the officer saw. Not by saying, well, he did have a gun. The officer thought he had a gun. That's the reasonable standard they use. Does that make sense? So we have two cases that guide us. We have the law that tells us about when we can use lethal force. You all with me still? Not asleep? I know that guy's got a study hall for this. I heard it. Okay. Now, if I can get it to work. I don't want that. Major, is there any way I can get back to those videos? Sorry. What I want to do is show you a video. It's an incident that occurred in the 80s down south. Look at it through the eyes of the officer, and when we're done, we're going to discuss whether or not lethal force is appropriate in that situation. Oh, thanks. Okay, you got over the shot. Lethal force or not? Yes. Yes, why? Why? Okay, but under the law, under what we talked about, was she an imminent threat? Okay. All right. Lethal force. Say, for example, that she had drawn her weapon from the ground, taken a position, and popped off a couple of rounds and killed that guy. What would have been the headline in the newspaper?
Unarmed black person.
Police officer, forget the race. Police officer kills unarmed man. You see what I'm getting at? Michael Brown, Ferguson, started all this mess. That's exactly what happened. Michael Brown was bigger than that guy. The police officer, Darren Wilson, was a lot smaller. What did this guy do halfway through the video after he knocked him down? Did you see it? When I said right there, go ahead.
Sergeant, that fits it. He put the officer's hand on the weapon.
He tried to grab a weapon, didn't he? Okay, what's he going to do with it? You think he's a collector? What was he going to do with that weapon? He was going to smoke it. He was going to kill her. Okay? She ended up in the hospital for almost a year. He broke her orbital bone around the eye socket here. She did go back to work. She was disfigured somewhat. He was caught down the road, and I'm happy to say he's still in prison, and he will be for quite a long time. He either had a warrant or he had dope or both in the car. I can't remember. It's been a while. This, I teach the police academy. A whole bunch of things in this that I teach that were tactically wrong that she did, mistakes that she made. But nonetheless, I think we all agree that that was a lethal force encounter. She was justified in drawing her weapon if she could have and shooting him. Yes?
Why was the black man stopped?
I don't know what the traffic stop was. It could have been something as simple as a taillight out. You know, she could have run the tag and it could have been expired. And that's one of the things that we worry about on the street. We don't know what's in that car. The media goes and they look at it with 20/20 hindsight and they say, oh, they should have known, there should have been more cops, blah, blah, blah. We don't know. When I walk up to a car, I do not know who's in that car. I do not know what their intentions are. Okay? Any other comments about that video? How many of you are interested in the field? Yes, sir.
Sorry, you could have stopped. I don't really understand what you mean if the suspect poses a lethal threat. How do they know that? Is it if the person's intimidating?
It's through the eyes of the police officer at the time. Now, initially, did she think he was a threat? Now, if that had been me, I would have called for backup. I wouldn't have approached. We have all sorts of things we teach, like the inner distance, the skips my mind right now. We try and keep distance from suspects, okay? She broke a lot of rules in that. If that had been me, I would have waited for backup. Why?
So, just in case something like that.
Yeah, because we want to reduce the amount of violence. More officers there. And that's the other thing you'll see on the news. They'll say 6 officers beat this guy up. Well, you know, if we have 6 officers, we can control the situation with less violence and less injury. Okay, that's why we always show up in bunches and we roll real deep and all that good stuff. And to answer your question, the perception of imminent bodily injury or death came after the first punch. Unfortunately, you know, she was probably already unconscious when she hit the ground. So, you know, she was doomed. But he beat her back. I mean, he had every intention of killing that woman. And she was in a lethal force encounter. Now, 3 years ago on Halloween, I'm working the parade in Carlisle. A guy comes up to me and he says, hey, there's some guy over there stealing candy from the kids. This is right in the middle of the parade. I mean, there are hundreds of people up and down the parade. So I'm wearing my dress uniform, we all are. I go over and this guy's standing right on the curb, his cheeks all puffed out like a gerbil full of candy, he's chewing away. I said, sir, can you stand up on the sidewalk? I need to talk to you. And he kind of looked at me and he stepped back a little bit. I said, sir, just step back, I just want to talk to you. pow, hit me in the face, okay? We had the Donnybrook of a fight, he and I. We rolled around. I ended up tasing him 2 times, point blank. I finally got to my taser. Got him down on the ground, finally got on top of him. The cavalry came running. I finally got to my radio and yelled broken arrow, and the guys started coming. Now, he's on the ground. He evacuated himself, okay? He's face down. His pants are half down in the fight. All I hear from the crowd around me is click, 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 people taking pictures. Within minutes, like 15 minutes after the fight, I'm exhausted. If any of you have been in a real fight, you'll know that you get very tired very quickly. So I'm exhausted. One of the medics comes up to me and says, hey, you should see Facebook. I said, well, I'm home with Facebook right now. I'm sort of home. He said, he threw pictures on there. There's a picture on Facebook of this guy lying face down with his pants pulled down, me on top of him, pinning him. And people are making comments like, oh, I hate the cops hurt this poor guy, blah, 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 blah. Okay? The background on this guy is that 10 years before, he was mentally ill. 10 years before, his mother wanted him to stay in the house. She was an advocate for the mentally ill and home treatment and all that. So she had him at home. 10 years before, he strangled his mother and killed her. Okay? They put him in a hospital for 10 years, comes out, goes to live in a halfway house in Carlisle. Nobody tells anybody anything. So I was fighting with a homicidal maniac. Okay? But I'm the bad guy. Now, I don't want you guys to think I'm whining. I love being a cop. It is the best job I've ever had. I couldn't imagine doing anything else. I was telling these people I started the day-to-day doing CPR on somebody and ended up trying to get a 400-pound, 5'8" guy handcuffed behind his back. Okay, because his arms were too wide apart. Nothing is the same in this job. I love it. But we're in a time where we need to explain to you why we do what we do. We're not out there shooting unarmed people. Are there bad cops? You better believe they're bad cops. But we'll take care of them, we'll get rid of them. We're the only profession that polices our own and the rest our own. Okay, Congress doesn't clean themselves up, right? But we do. Now, in order to do all these things, do we want just anybody to go out there and be able to use lethal force? Do we want to just give a guy a gun and a badge and say, go play? Of course not. It takes about a year, sometimes a year and a half to get a police job. And I'll go through the process very quickly, and then I'll open up the floor for any questions. First thing you want to do is make sure this is a job you want. You're going to miss holidays with your family. You're going to be working nights. You're going to be, it's tough. It's a lot like the military, okay? First thing you do is you apply. If you're in Cumberland County and you want to come work for Sergeant Jackson at Carlisle Police Department, you apply to take the consortium test. That's a big test. All the departments participate in. So you show up on the day of the test. The first thing you do is a PT test. You got to run 1.5 miles in a certain amount of time, 300-meter sprint, got to do a certain amount of push-ups, sit-ups, pull-ups, and a vertical jump. If you pass that, you get hunkered into a room and sit down and you take the written test. The written test assesses your ability to retain information, to memorize stuff. What they'll do is they'll give you like a booklet, and it'll have like 5 wanted posters, a map of the city, and details of a crime and a crime report. After about 20 minutes, you close that book and they ask you a series of questions about what you just read to see if you retain it. After that, they rank you. So you get ranked, like the last consortium test would be 1 through 300. The departments then swoop in and start picking people. Everybody wants a top 10, right? So you go and you tell the top 10, hey, come into Carlisle Police Department for an interview. So you put on your suit and tie, you better put on your suit and tie. You come to the Carlisle Police Department and you sit down in front of 3 chiefs from different departments and the borough manager and maybe somebody else. And they bombard you with questions. They want to see what your character is like, what your integrity is like, what your sense of service to the community. So they will say, Cadet, I had to pick the one with a name like that. Okay, Cadet, you and your partner are out on patrol, right? You come to a car accident. One of the cars is a sports car, and it has a gear shift knob that your partner has been looking for his collection forever. So your partner looks around, takes the gear shift knob, sticks it in his pocket. What are you going to do? You don't know? What are you going to do? Okay, so you're going to tell him not to take it. Do you trust him anymore? Your partner? Yes?
I
back to its wrong stealing it, and still do that, you can report it to your supervisor.
Absolutely, absolutely. And the snitching, no, it's not snitching. He does not deserve to be on the street. I don't want him on the street. I don't trust him. That's not his property. Do you want a cop who steals? Of course not. Of course not. So those are kinds of questions. They'll ask you one like, who wants a shot at this one? Anybody? All right. Your mother drives through town 45 miles an hour in a 25-mile zone. You pull her over. Are you going to give her a ticket?
Not on it.
Yeah.
I let her go to her friend.
Okay. You're going to let her go. You're a sworn police officer, and they're going to do this to you in the interview. You're a police officer. You're supposed to uphold the law, but you're going to let your mom go. Okay. And they want to see if you're going to stick your hands. Of course you're not going to cite your mother. Nobody's going to write a ticket on their mother. That's ridiculous. We have the discretion as police officers. But they want to see if you're going to think, if you're going to have the integrity, if you can handle that discretion. You get through the interview, you get ranked. Say Carlisle's going to hire 2 people. We'll take the top 2 people, we'll send them a letter saying we're going to do a background investigation. We're giving you a temporary offer of employment pending the background. So you have to go take a psychological exam. I don't know how I passed mine, but I did. Then you have to go and do a background investigation. That sends our detectives all over. They'll talk to your neighbors. They'll ask your neighbors what friends you have. They'll talk to your friends. They'll check your school records. They'll check your transcripts. See if you got in any trouble. They'll talk to your teachers, your instructors, your coaches. If you get through the background, some places want you to do a polygraph. Has anybody here ever had a polygraph exam? Other than me. You have. They're no fun, are they? Polygraph exam, they give you a booklet about 25 pages long. You have to do every intimate, embarrassing question possible about every aspect of your life. Once you've done that, and you're hanging your head, and you're feeling terrible and embarrassed, you hand it into the examiner. He calls you in, sits you down, goes through the book, and he does things like, first of all, the polygraph will measure your heart rate, your breathing, all that kind of stuff. And they hook you up, and he'll start with a question like, is your name Eminence? Right? And that'll set the baseline. You'll say yes, okay? Even if you're nervous, that's going to be your baseline. Then they'll ask you questions like, other than what you put in the booklet, have you used any drugs? And you answer yes or no. And they go through, usually about 10 questions. They involve drugs, stealing, sometimes sexual activity, all sorts of things you really don't want to talk with someone else. At the end of it, if you pass, chief calls you up and says, welcome to Carlisle Police Department. Come on down and get sworn in. You get out and get sworn in, you get a badge. You get a gun, you stick the gun in your locker because you're not allowed to carry it yet, and then you wait to go to the police academy. Police academy is 6 months long. You go down there and you learn all sorts of stuff. What kind of stuff do you think you're going to learn in the police academy? What do we want our police officers to know?
Yeah, that's me. I think we learn how to shoot and uphold the law.
Yep, you learn. Yes, sir.
There's everything from writing reports to crime scenes and anything from scenario based and very much.
You talk to your mother a lot, don't you?
Actually, I'm a police explorer.
Oh, okay. Excellent, excellent. He's absolutely right. You cover everything. You learn how to shoot a pistol. You learn how to shoot a shotgun. You learn Pennsylvania crime code, rules of evidence, rules of criminal procedure, juvenile law, vehicle code, first aid. You get stacks of books this long. You're going to class 6 days a week, sometimes 7. You have study groups at night afterwards. You do PT. You run as a group. You're singing jodies. You're doing all that stuff. That's your punishment. They yell at you. They get up in your face. They try and stress you out. Why do they want you stressed out? Because you're going to be stressed on the street. You're going to be yelled at on the street. If I had a nickel for every obscene word people would call me, I'd be a rich man. I wouldn't be working anymore. But they want you to be able to handle that and not snap. You learn, now you're learning sensitivity stuff. You're learning race relations. You're learning how to deal with the mentally ill. All these things get thrown at you for 6 months. At the end of which, take a big sigh of relief. You walk across the stage and they certify you as a police officer in Pennsylvania. It's not over. Then you got to go back to your department and you do about 3 months of what's called field training. You have a field training officer that rides with you. The first month, you do nothing. You sit there and you watch him do all the work. Second month, you split it up. Third month, you do all the work and the field training officer just sits there. Then, if you complete that satisfactorily and you're evaluated every day in writing, you have a checklist of things you have to perform before you can be on the street. Once you've done that, then you're out on your own. But you have continuing training. Every year you have a week of training, you got to recertify everything, and I didn't bring my full belt, but everything that's on your belt you have to be certified to use. I've got pepper spray, no fun. I've got taser, no fun. I have not been hit with my baton or shot with my gun, but we all have to be certified in everything we use. We have to be professional in our profession. Are there any questions? No questions? Yes? It depends on which department you go to. Sometimes you can have a partner, sometimes you don't. At our police department, occasionally a couple of people become very close and they'll work together as partners. I had a partner who's now retired. She and I work together, and having a partner is great. It really is, especially on those long nights. And I happen to think it's a good idea because you've got two people going to every call, automatically, instead of one. Yes? You have a question?
Sir, can I call them?
Yeah.
For the lethal force thing, I read articles of people that would take unloaded guns and then they start a situation and they try to have the cop kill them.
Mm-hmm.
Is that like, if you know it's an unloaded and they're trying to do like a cop suicide?
If I know that, yeah, it's called suicide by cop. Yep, I'm not going to say it's common, but it happens. Someone will say, well, I want to get killed, but I don't have the moxie to do it myself, so I'll get the cops to do it. So they'll take an unloaded gun, point it at a police officer, hoping that he'll shoot them. If I know that that gun's unloaded, of course I'm not going to shoot it. Okay, but sometimes you can't take a chance. One of the shootings in Cleveland, I think it was, where it was a teenager who had a toy gun. Have you guys seen those toy guns? I can't tell the difference, and you've got to make that decision like that. Like that. Can a 16-year-old kid kill a cop? Darn tootin'. Okay? So if you present one of those toy guns and you point it at me, yeah.
Regarding that, when you first get the gun given to you, do you end up keeping it? Like, do you own it, or do you keep it back?
It's department property, and the tradition of the Carlisle Police Department is at the end of your career, they offer to give you your gun to you, and you can take it with you if you want. Yeah, it's a nice tradition. In fact, one of my friends just retired, because now police officers are allowed to carry off duty all over the country, thanks to the federal government after 9/11 saying that, you know, we've got all these armed guys. Why are we not letting them carry? But yeah. Anything else? Yes.
You guys, members were scared about all the gang activities?
Am I scared about it? Darn right. I'm scared every day when I go out on the street. I mean, it's like a soldier in combat. Of course you're scared, and you're a liar if you say you're not. The trick is you do your job despite the fact that you're scared. And I bet your mom is scared every time she goes on the street. I'm not going to show it, but yeah, I'm scared. I know a lot about those gangs. They kill cops. They hunt them down. You darn too. Yes, sir.
Sorry, how did you know you wanted to be a police officer?
I don't know. I just did. From the time I was about your age, I knew I wanted to be a cop. And it's a dream I chased for a long time. And like I said, there's no better job in the world. There really isn't. Anything else? Usually I get somebody who says, have you ever shot anybody? Yes?
Sorry to cut out the top though. If a police officer commits a crime, who investigates them?
The police. It depends. If I, as a Carlisle police officer, committed a crime, what will happen is the chief of police will initiate an internal investigation, and if he thinks that the internal investigation won't work, he'll call it like the district attorney of the state police, and they'll conduct the investigation. But most police departments have what's called an internal affairs division, and they're responsible for hunting down dirty cops. So in our case, it would be the chief. And we do have them. We do have them. Yes?
Sorry, if you're certified as a police officer in one state, what are the steps to get certified in another state?
Good question. You asked what the steps were to get certified in another state as a police officer. It depends on the state. They call those lateral hires. So like if I wanted to go to California and be a cop there, I'd apply, I'd test, and then I'd go to an abbreviated academy. They'd just teach me the California laws. They'd make sure I could shoot my gun and I was first aid certified and all that. So I wouldn't go through a full academy. We get those in the academy when I teach, and usually they show up maybe a third of the time, take a third of the classes. Yes?
If a cop goes over someone that a cop will call us to search the car, right?
Uh-huh.
But can't the cop just like lie and be like, oh, I saw something, or
Yep, they can lie, but I mean, you have all those things up there in the back I've been reading since I got here. My word is very important to me. I'm not going to lie. I am not going to lie. I'm not going to lie to get a pinch. I'm not going to lie to get somebody in trouble. That's my honor. That's my integrity. That's my personal courage. All those things on the back. It's just not going to happen. I take this very seriously. I work very hard for this. I'm very proud of this. I'm not going to do anything to sully it. But yeah, they do. It's happening. Yes, sir.
I have two questions.
Yeah.
The first question is it true if you're 16 years old and a police stops you, and you tell them I'm not 18 or I don't have my parents condemned or something to talk to you? Is that, are you allowed to go away?
It depends what you've done as a juvenile. It's a good question. There's a whole different set of rules for juveniles, for handcuffing juveniles, all that stuff. No, I cannot search you or do anything without you getting parental consent. Usually what happens is I'll take you into custody, I'll bring you into holding, and then I'll call your parents and then they'll come down. If I want to interrogate you, and there are a whole bunch of rules and regulations and laws about interrogations, if I want to interrogate you, I have to talk to your parents first. That's Pennsylvania. What was your second question?
My question is, why do police officers really party? Like cancel, not cancel parties, but go to parties in this way?
I'm not sure what you mean, go to parties?
No. I'm saying alright.
No, that's okay, go ahead. No, don't worry about it, don't listen to them.
Alright, so let's say there's a big party going on.
Right.
In town.
Okay.
But it's not private. It's like a team party.
Okay.
Alright, why do you guys come and just stop it?
Okay, I see what you're saying. If we get a complaint, in Carlisle we have picnics in college, and I know it comes as a shock to you because college kids have huge parties. If we get a complaint from the neighbors that the party's too loud, we'll come and we'll warn them and say tone it down. If we get a second call, we'll shut it down. And we'll cite the person who lives in the house because they've been warned. If we really want to be technical and we really want to break up the party as people leave, we'll card them all because invariably there'll be juveniles in there drinking. So that's why we do it. We do it on complaint. Cops don't, we don't just mess with people. We get complaints, we have suspicions and that kind of stuff. Yes?
Sergeant, that's you ever been tased or pepper sprayed?
I was tased, and I would much rather be tased than pepper sprayed. When you get pepper sprayed, it gets in your eyes, it gets in your mouth, you feel like you can't breathe, and that lasts for about 45 minutes. Then you go into class and you take a written test, and then they tell you to go take a shower. When you take a shower, it just runs all that stuff back into your face again, and you start all over. With a taser, you flop around like a fish for 5 seconds, and it's over. Yes.
Isn't it possible for someone to just take a real gun and just spray paint the tip?
Yeah. It depends. Now they're supposed to put orange tips on the airsoft guns. His question is, could you put an orange tip on a real gun and try and confuse a cop? It's going to be a matter of the officer's reading of the situation. It depends where I am, depends who the person is. Again, it's what do I think the threat is? Okay. Has it happened? I don't know that it's happened. It possibly could. But there have been people shot with airsoft guns.
There are a couple of airsoft guns. My airsoft guns have an orange tip, but I've also seen some that don't.
Right. People paint black over the orange tips to make them look real. We use airsoft guns for training. Here's the gig. Would you want a firefighter out on a fire truck who has never fought a fire? Of course not. So we've been trying to do for the last 10 years is make the training of our police officers more realistic. We do force-on-force training, we do laser shot training, shoot-don't-shoot training, role players with simunitions, and simunitions hurt people well when you get hit with them. We want to feel that pain, we want to feel what it's like. So if we get out into the real world to do this job, we're prepared mentally. Yes?
I don't know, sir. You guys use those bullets that have little glass things on top to paint or something?
No, we use just a regular hollow point for our pistols. But we have to label what kind of ammunition we have for our rifles, for our pistols, and we have to check it because it becomes evidence. If we get involved in a shooting, they take my gun, they take all my ammunition, and they check it and write it down because it's evidence. Yes, and then yeah.
question.
Yes, sir.
Ever shot someone?
I've come close, but no, I have never shot you. Thank God.
Have you ever been in a hostage negotiation?
Yes, I have negotiated, I've been a hostage negotiator for 6 years, I guess, and yes, I've talked to a lot of people now. I was just talking before with some of your instructors, and one of the big problems with negotiations right now is that everybody's got cell phones, and I talked one guy out after 2 hours simply by texting him. It was ridiculous. That's a good question. What was your other question? Oh, that's it? Okay. Where there was some of the, yeah.
I have a question.
Uh-huh.
If a police officer was killed on the scene and the body was not found, will they keep investigating or not?
When they kill a police officer?
Yeah.
Yeah, they'll investigate that forever. They will never stop. You kill one of our own, we will find you.
And one more question.
Yeah.
And so when you make the gun, does it look more realistic?
Well, here's the deal. Again, remember we talked about what the Supreme Court said. We've got to look through the eyes of the officer at the time. If it's dark out and you come up and you do a frantic movement and pull out a toy gun that looks real, chances are I'm going to feel threatened and I'm going to defend myself. Okay? That being said, you've got to be able to articulate it. What happens if a guy walks up to me and I'm telling him, and this is one of our shoot, don't shoot scenarios. You've got the gun, you're the police officer, and you're telling me to stop. I have my hand behind my pocket, and you feel threatened and you shoot me. Well, then they stop the film and they show the continuation, and the guy reaches in, pulls out a wallet and says, I'm deaf. Okay, so you got to think about all these things. I mean, it's a split-second decision. And that's what, I beg people when these police shootings happen, instead of listening to the media telling you that the police shot an unarmed man, wait for the investigation. The Michael Brown investigation in Ferguson was, once they did it, released it, was like, of course it was a good shoot. The guy felt threatened, he thought he was going to die, he was getting punched, the guy was going for his gun. Of course he felt threatened. And the other guy who said he had his hands up admitted he lied. But, you got to wait for the investigation. Just don't jump to conclusions. Yeah.
Sorry, Jennifer, can you describe us your experience, training, and rules on the SWAT team?
On the SWAT team, you had to go through another application process, another psychological exam, which I'm amazed I passed, a PT test, all that stuff. Then you go on, you go through like a 2-week training period. Back then we were using MP5 submachine guns, so we spent a lot of time on those. We learned building entry, dynamic and static, hostage rescue, kill shots for a hostage. We learned a lot of hand-to-hand combat stuff. We learned how to track. We learned it's like any other SWAT team stuff you see. When I became a sniper, that was another 2-week course where we were out in the woods. We were shooting. We'd shoot from up down. We'd shoot from down up. We'd go to a shoot house and shoot. We'd learn to stalk. We'd go out in the woods with our ghillie suits. We had the final exam was our instructor went out into the woods with a target, stuck the target in the ground, and then he just sat there and looked for us. And our job was to get within a shot range without him finding us. Once we did, we got on the radio and said, I'm ready for the shot. We took the shot, it had to hit, and then he had to look for us again. And if he found us, we failed. If we didn't, we passed. That was the best 2 years of my life on SWAT. It was the 2 years I was a sniper. So now I was young and healthy before the Civil War. Yeah.
Did they do the thing where they come out and they stick the post down and they look for you if they can't find you in the move on?
It's a variation of that. He was a Marine, so he knew what he was doing, and he was searching the weeds and the grass and stuff. Yeah.
Sir, is the military justice system similar to police justice system?
The military code of justice, I'm not familiar with it, but I think there are different rules and regulations. But generally, all the rules and laws in this country fall under what? The Constitution. They have to be constitutional. Okay, so we all fall into that category. Yes? Our cars what? Hang out. We have that somewhat in Carlisle. So most towns have that. It's not illegal as long as they're behaving and not throwing trash around and being stupid and doing donuts and stuff.
I have a question. Like you said, if they ask us, oh, if we stop our car, we have to issue her a ticket or we're allowed to actually?
No, the police officers are allowed a lot of discretion. I mean, that's why they're very careful on who they hire. You have a lot of room to make decisions. I don't have to arrest people. I can if I want. And like you were just, I'm not going to give a ticket to my mother. She'd never speak to me again. And I love my mother. Yes, you got a question? Anybody else? Yes.
If you are in fear of police,
If you're in fear of a police officer, just do what he says. Just do what he says. That's all I can tell you. If you're on the street and a cop is telling you something to do something, for the love of God, just do it. You know, if you're cooperative, everything's going to be fine. There's no reason to be afraid of cops. Okay, I'm not that, well, I am ugly, but I'm not that scary. Yeah.
Continuing that question, what if you're not guilty, you didn't do anything?
That's for the court to decide. I'm not a judge. So if I have probable cause to believe you committed a crime, I'm going to charge you. If you didn't do it, you bring all your evidence to court and you prove it. I don't take it personally. But if I have probable cause to believe you did something, I'm going to charge you and take you into custody. And then we'll hammer it out in court.
How old are you? How old are you?
How old am I? 53. How old are you? Okay. Yes, sir.
Sorry, can I spit? Why do you believe the media portrays cops in a bad way?
I think the media does it because it's news. Why does the media do anything? It's news. They make money off of news. The headline, cop shoots an unarmed man, just blares out at you. The headline, cop does CPR on a guy on the gym floor, doesn't sell papers. And that's what I did this morning. Okay, that doesn't sell papers. But shooting an unarmed man, that sells papers. That leads to news. Yes?
Sergeant, that was, as you said, when, just cooperate with police officers, when he showed me that video, he didn't cooperate, so, yeah, things turned out to be a lot worse.
Absolutely. She wanted him to put his hands on the car. We have what we call signals. We look at body language. We watch. When people are getting ready to fight, they do certain things, like what?
Cuff their hands.
Clench their hands, clench their jaw. They stare at you. It's called a target stare. If I'm staring right here, that's where I'm going to hit you. Okay? What did he do when she said, put your hands on the car? Yes. Yeah, took his hand off the car. That's a tip for me. Something's going to go bad. I'm going to back off and create space and try and wait for some help. And that was her mistake. And that's a whole different thing. That's the tactics in police work. And it's very interesting, but it's a little beyond that. We'd be here all night. Yeah. With what? Oh, yeah. Yeah, we have a lot of problems with bars. And we get some pretty doozy fights in bars and drunks. I have stories about drunk people doing stuff. And, yes?
I have a question. If I'm 16-year-old, right, and I have my permit and I'm driving and I get pulled over and I have someone that actually does have a license to me, that's not working on.
Well, that depends on the officer. It depends on PennDOT. PennDOT is an animal unto itself. They make the rules about licenses and suspensions and all that. Chances are, if it's me, I'm going to say, call your parents. And get someone down here and get home. Yes, sir.
How come we don't let McDonald's inspect themselves? Scientists verify their own research, but we let police investigate their own crimes.
Say that again. I'm sorry.
I said, how come we let McDonald's and restaurants verify their safety measures, and we let scientists verify their research, but we do let police investigate their own crimes?
Well, I'm not sure that's a fair assessment. I mean, it's a good question, and it's a challenging question. To compare McDonald's internal investigations with the police internal investigation, I'm not sure that's fair. We do investigate our own, but we also go out of the department if it's bad enough. Federally, we could get investigated. There are a bunch of cities right now in the country that are the police departments are under federal control. Pittsburgh is one of them. I think they're still under control. But if our investigation, the difference is McDonald's doesn't have to let you see the results of their investigation. We do. We have to be transparent. If I'm getting investigated, the chief's going to let everybody see what happened. Okay? If he's not comfortable doing it, he's going to call state police in. He's going to call the FBI in. I don't know who else you want to investigate us. Now, there are some departments that have a civilian review board. Okay, and that's usually made up of 6 people who are not police officers who review complaints of excessive force. That's fine. The problem is those civilians don't understand what I just told you about the law, about stress, about reaction to crimes in a split second. So it's a good question. I'm not sure I answered it, but I tried. You've got civilian review boards, you've got other agencies investigating. There's really no one else to investigate you. You know, you can go to grand jury, I guess. Anybody else? Yeah.
Let's say in a situation where like a guy has well, he doesn't have a gun, but like he had like something that's saying I'm dead. What would you do in that situation where you didn't know if he was dead or anything?
I don't know. I'd have to be in the situation to do it. And when I went through the academy and I had that shoot, don't shoot film with the guy with the wallet, I did shoot. I did shoot because he was coming at me aggressively. And you've got to be able to articulate because you're going to go before a court. I'm going to say, he moved on me aggressively. He was not complying with my verbal commands. He made a threatening gesture. I was in fear for my life. It might have been a gun, so I shot him. Would it have been a clean shoot? Probably not. But, yeah. Yes?
Say I had facial hair, right?
Uh-huh.
My mom was a cop. I took her badge, and you approach me, and I just show you the badge. Like, how would you be able to know I'm an officer?
Oh, we have all sorts of tricks.
Do you have like a color for the day?
Some departments do, yeah. Their undercover guys will have a color for the day. In Pennsylvania, each department has its own particular serial number. It's called an ORI. If you come at me and say you're a Pennsylvania cop, I'm going to say, what's your ORI? And if you don't know it, you're not a cop. Because we write it on every single complaint, every single citation. PAO 210200 is mine. Yeah. Yes, I have been in a couple of car chases. Car chases are extremely dangerous. We don't like to do them in the borough of Carlisle. Why? Because it's crowded with people. We have stacks of general orders that define how we do and what we do. For example, we're not allowed to do the pit maneuver, which is where you hit the back of a car and spin it out. The state police do it all the time. Car chases are really bad, really dangerous. We have all sorts of rules about terminating. Anybody can call off a chase if they want to. I mean, it depends on what the guy did, too. Again, it's lethal force. If the guy shot someone and I'm afraid he might shoot someone else, we're going to continue the pursuit. If he had a headlight out, we done okay?
I'd like to take this opportunity to present you with the Carson coin.
Well, thank you very much. If you guys have questions, my email address is real simple. sjackson@carlislepa.org. Feel free to email me. If you guys are interested in law enforcement career, you're going to follow in your mom's footsteps. I think you were at lunch with us, weren't you? Okay. If you have a question about what it's like, or what to do, or how to stay out of trouble, feel free to email. Yes. Right. Do I have a card? I didn't bring any cards.
Oh, yeah.
I'll send some up. I'll send some up.
I'll give it to you.
Yeah.
But I'll get it at time.